Well, hello and welcome back. Yeah, I don't know how long it's been since these videos tend to get recorded and then not put back on YouTube for quite some time. So thought we would, I don't know, do something a little bit different. This is a Ram ProMaster that we're just wrapping up. As per usual, this is only about an hour from going to the client. So here I am. It's all clean and ready to go, and we're going to hand it over to the client, go through all the systems, and actually, do a couple things that I want her feedback on before I make any more assumptions. That is a part of building these vans is we can't know everything, and so we make a lot of decisions on our own. They're well informed assumptions, but nonetheless, we're always crossing our fingers that we've pegged it and that we get it right. So thought I'd make a cup of coffee and talk to you. You'll see this van, we'll have a lot of photos on our website and, on Instagram, Remote Adventure Design on Instagram, remoteadventuredesign.com on the internet, and you can see more there. And always, if you have any questions or want more specifics, just hit us up on either of those platforms, and we'd love to talk to you about what we do. So I thought we'd talk a little bit about the Ram ProMaster, pros and cons. It's a question I get a lot, so I'm going to get my water going. In order to run, this is a Propane Range, and so I think I just popped out of camera there, sorry. So I have the inverter running, which is right here. So the inverter is turned on. We are not on shore power right now, so we are being charged by solar as we speak. Reading 100% on our battery monitor from Renogy. We have a 170 amp hour lithium ion battery underneath me here, and then a 2000 watt Renogy inverter charger controller. So I'm going to get this going. Let's see here. I'm going to put it in the front burner, small one. There we go. All right, so we'll get some water going for some coffee. I haven't had any since my morning cup, so I'm gonna get that going. All right, so the Ram ProMaster. We get a lot of questions about the Ram ProMaster, vans in general, which van to build out. Of the common three, you have the Mercedes-Benz Sprinter, the Ford Transit, and the Ram ProMaster. I have personally owned a Transit. I have not owned a Sprinter or a ProMaster. And I have built numerous ProMasters, Transits, and Econolines, which I know a lot of you are also looking at the Econoline, especially if you're on more of the budget build and looking for something maybe a little bit in a smaller package or a more traditional platform. But I just thought we'd talk about pros and cons of the ProMaster today. I like it. This is the 159. We've built both 159s and the 136, I think is the short one. They have great headroom. Part of the reason they have great headroom is because they have a lower floor. And that brings up one of the big differences of a ProMaster versus a Transit and a Sprinter. The ProMaster, the engine, the transmission, the drivetrain are all in the front. It's a front-wheel drive only vehicle. And so because it has no running gear going from behind the seats more or less to the back of the van, they can lower the floor down. There isn't a big frame, and there isn't a driveline and an axle back there that you see on the Transits and the Sprinters, which are built more like a truck. So that is one of the big differences in a ProMaster. It's a little bit lower step-in height, and for the height of the van, you get more headroom. So in this van, I think it's probably a little over 6 feet clear, whereas in the Transit, you would have to get to the high roof in order to clear 6 feet. And don't quote me on the Sprinters, but I'm pretty sure in the Sprinter, they're like standard kind of high roof, that there is over 6 feet as well on those. So that is one of the nuances of the Transit, is that the medium roof, while more or less you can stand in it if you're taller or just really don't want to feel anything on your head, and are like, I'm 5'10", and I can touch kind of the ceiling. So it kind of limits how much we can do on the ceiling and how much we can do on the floor in a Transit medium roof. Back to the ProMaster, good headroom, lower step-in height. So that those are all good things. I would also say the ProMaster is a little bit Boxier. So when we build these out, this started as a cargo van. So this had nothing back here. Everything that you see we've done, and we've added to kind of, make it this custom, bespoke adventure coach. And it's a little bit easier to work on the ProMasters and to wrap them up on the inside than it is a Transit. Transits have a little bit more going on, more curves, the inside slope a little bit more, kind of everything, it just has a little bit more curve to it. So definitely a benefit of the ProMaster for a do-it-yourselfer. It's probably going to be a little bit easier, I think, to put a ceiling in and put panels up and kind of get rid of that cargo van look. On the inside, it's about the same. There's really no difference in cutting a hole in the top of these for a max air fan or a fresh air cooler like we have in this van, putting the solar on, putting those things on. The roof is about the same. I will say another benefit of the ProMaster and the Sprinter that I know of is that they are easier to put awnings onto. The Transit has more of a sloping, the front third, I'd say, of the roof has a slope to it. It makes it a little bit more challenging to put a full-length awning on a Transit, whereas on the ProMaster, super simple. It has a flat roof that goes from the back of the van all the way to kind of the B pillar, which is right behind the driver or the passenger seat. We call that the B pillar, and it's more or less a straight line that goes between those 2 points. So it's super easy to get an awning on there that's well supported and has full coverage. So in this case, we have a Fiamma awning, and this is actually a system that Fiamma makes. That's a rack that attaches to all of the factory kind of cargo points up on the roof, and then it gives you the mounts for the Fiamma awning, and then it made it really simple to put solar panels. And in this case, we have 3 190 watt solar panels on here from Grape Solar. So yeah, so that's another pro, is just that the roof is pretty flat and easy to work on. On the interior side, again, that flatness makes it a little bit easier to trim out, and we kind of have an easier time getting these ceilings looking good versus like I said, the Transit is a little trickier to do that. So I guess that brings us to the walls, putting windows in these. It seems like there are more options for the Sprinters and the Transits than there are the ProMasters, but in this case we put a Sierra Lawrence window in that is an awning, has a screen on the inside, so it's just a manual crank out window. Really classic design, worked really well, installed, really simple. You can always hit us up if you need help with that. Any of this stuff, actually, you can hit us up and we'll help you out. But so you can put windows here in the rear. I haven't seen a flare kit for ProMasters. It doesn't mean it doesn't exist, but I haven't seen one. But you could easily put windows in the back as well. And I have installed in other ProMasters what would look like the factory window here behind the driver's seat, and I'm sure that there's something available for the slider door as well that has that factory look and would give you some ventilation there. Huge thing to have on these vans is some ventilation. And that actually sounds good right now. So yeah, ventilation is good. So you can do windows, fresh air back there or up front, and then the max air fan here. So let's see. I don't know. Let's go now to underneath. So I talked about that lower floor. That lower floor is great. Step-in height is low. However, it has a con. The con is underneath there isn't much space to put things, especially when it comes to your water. If you wanted to put your batteries underneath, it's going to be a little tricky. And yeah, there's just not a lot of room down there. And the way that the exhaust pipe runs and the rear carrier beam between the rear wheels, it's tricky getting things to run. You really can't cross things the full width of the van. And so it makes it really tricky for plumbing. In this case, I have all of the plumbing of this van is on passenger side. And so I was able to keep it all over here. I have a drain going out the back to drain the system. But then the drain for this sink as well as the overflow drain for the hot water heater. Those go down to, I was able to fit in a 10-gallon gray water tank almost right underneath my feet, but it has to be plumbed from this side, and it has to run out this side. And so the discharge for the gray water is also on passenger, which I'm not a huge fan of. In the times that you would want to empty gray water and be at camp, you'd be emptying gray water right where kind of under your awning or where likely you're setting your camp up. So I would much prefer to run gray water out driver's side, but I can't on these vans in this configuration. The next van I'm doing, the next ProMaster, actually is a driver's side where all the water is, so I do need to figure that out and find a way to get the plumbing and all of that kind of sorted out on driver's side. But I have a feeling it'll be kind of a mashup, but it's just tricky with the exhaust pipe running through there. And then the other things that plumb through the floor are like my Webasto furnace. So I've got an Evo 40 under the bench here. So I was able to do that. That's actually a really great spot. The ProMaster is quite simple. They all are to put the Webastos in. Be very similar to the S-Bar. And the Dodge Pro or the Ram ProMaster is super easy to hook up the auxiliary fuel line to. So, you know, the Webasto runs off the gasoline. Under the driver's seat, there's an access panel, and you can just get in there, pop off the factory cap, and then put on the Webasto, it's a Dorman version of it that we put on, and it's already, the auxiliary fuel tap's already in. So that's super nice and super easy to get to. The step down from the front of the van to the back of the van is a pretty sizable step, and so you'll see in almost every ProMaster build that there is a step that's built so that when you swivel the seat, your feet aren't hanging in the air. They have something to sit on. So we've done that here in this van, and yeah, it's kind of the norm for ProMasters. It's something that we kind of build into the design of pretty much every one that we do. There's been a couple that we don't have room for it, but by and large, there's always a step there, and that's why you see that step in ProMaster builds is usually to kind of ease that transition of getting from the front to the back, but also so that when you swivel the seat, you have something to put your feet on. So that is what we've got there. As far as the engine goes, I think there used to be a diesel with like a manual automatic transmission that got horrible reviews, so you won't see that too often. But their standard V6 gets up and goes pretty good. The transmission, in my opinion, is a little clunky. I'm not a huge fan of the transmission on this. I much prefer the Transit, and I don't have much experience with the I've driven older Sprinters like the T1s, but I haven't driven the newer Sprinters, so I'm not quite familiar with those. From what I hear, they're quite nice, but I can't speak enough about the Ford. I know their transmissions are great and do really well. So because this is a new van, I don't want to get it dirty, so I'm going to be a little more cautious than normal. Let's see. I think, yeah, engine, I'd say is on par with the ProMaster. It just, the transmission is what feels different. I'd say overall power is about the same, but the transmission seems to lug a little bit on the hills, I think. It seems like it's designed a little bit more for just around town or on the freeway. But I drive a lot in the hills, so I think that's why I don't like it as well. And, I think maintenance-wise, time will tell on these versus the Fords. I feel like they're in a different category than the Sprinter. The Sprinter, it's Mercedes-Benz. It's a lot more specialized. It's diesel. And so it's kind of separated, I think, from the conversation as far as maintenance goes. It just has its own, it just comes with it. If you've ever owned a European vehicle, you'll know they're different, and I think the Sprinter definitely is in that category. Whereas the Ford and the ProMaster, if you live around either dealer, I think you're going to have a great time getting service and getting the parts that you need. I haven't heard any of my clients have any issues. We do not. We have a Dodge and Ram dealer in Eugene, but we do not. They do not have a lift, I guess, or a service rep for the ProMaster. So here in Eugene, people have to drive up to, I think, either Corvallis or Salem is the closest ProMaster dealer. So that's kind of an issue, I guess, if you're down here in Eugene. But do check. Just make sure that you have access to a dealer that will service your van, because you know, you want to keep them going, especially since so many of these go out on long drives. You just want to make sure that you keep up on your routine maintenance. So I think that's I think cost of ownership and whatnot is about the same as a Ford. Retail value or resale value. Well, retail, from what I understand, the ProMaster currently, and this is what we're second quarter now of 2022. I think the ProMaster is still available, or is more available than either the Transits or the Sprinters, and is a little bit less expensive than the Transit. The Transit prices have gone up significantly, I think, in the last 2 years. So the ProMaster kind of wins in that category. But as far as the cost to build it out, it's going to be the same as any of them, because that's kind of van independent. Maybe the time that we save on the boxiness, we're going to spend having to figure out and engineer things underneath the van that we don't on a Transit or a Sprinter. So I'd say the cost of building these, if you're having it done for you, is going to be the same, but the original price of the vehicle is going to be a little bit less on the ProMaster. So I'm going to stop talking. I can't thank you enough for watching. Hope you subscribe. To all of you that do, thank you so much. It means a lot. I'm hoping to see this grow and get to where we can do more of this and less just pounding the pavement here in the shop. We've been working hard and putting in a lot of hours to get these vans done, to keep the bills paid and to keep this vision alive. And where we really want to get to is being able to provide you more content, to get out and get remote the way that we want to, and the way that inspires us, and hopefully then that in turn inspires you and keeps some really cool builds coming through the shop. So I've got some big dreams and some high hopes for what's about to happen, and I'm working my tail off to do that. So so anything that you can do to help, we appreciate it. And the easiest thing is just like, subscribe, send us a comment, let us know that you're digging what we do. Be your best, and we'll see you later. Cheers.